Yo, welcome back to another episode of the Celtics Chronicle Podcast. As usual, I'm your boy, Adam Taylor. And as usual, I'm joined by my homie, compadre, co-host in crime, Mr. Mike Webber. What's poppin', Mike?
What's good, Adam? How we doing, man?
I'm good, man. Less than 48 hours away from the opening game of the playoffs, Celtics Philly. Earlier this week, we dove into what Philly does well, what Philly does bad. We also looked at Orlando, but we can scratch that now. And then yesterday, myself and Billy Calabrese dove into just the matchups, which teams have better players at what position, who's got the more talented rotation overall, all that good stuff, defense, offense, potential guys that can come in and make a difference that maybe you don't expect. So today, Mike, I think it's time we look at the X factors in this series, or the potential X factors, because then the next time we speak is going to be after game one, and that's going to be like, now we've got stuff to actually dissect, break down, peel layers off of. So if we start there, we'll start with X factors. And I'm writing about this for the newsletter at the moment. I'm actually going to try and embed this video into the newsletter and then have them work together, right? So if you're watching this right now and you want to read what I've got to write because it'll be different to this, links in the description, go show some love. And while we're talking about plugging stuff, make sure to hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, do all that good stuff, show us some love. We're trying to get this channel monetized, baby. Mike, how are you feeling about this series going in?
I mean, I'm pretty pumped just to see basketball. It's crazy how a few days of not having basketball feels like a withdrawal. It's like the All-Star game, but at least we know we got some real legitimate intense hoop coming on Sunday, which is, I mean, super exciting. Selfishly, I'm traveling to Florida for a minute. I was kind of pumped to hope to see Orlando, but as the Celtics person, I'm not going to call myself an expert, but somebody who certainly supports and loves the game and thinks he's got some pretty good opinions. I am excited about the matchup. I think this is the optimal first round matchup for the Celtics, as we've kind of talked about. There's a long history, the longest standing history of Eastern Conference foes, if I'm not mistaken, possibly in the NBA history too. So there's a long history here. And I think my favorite stat was that Jaylen Brown has won just as many games in the playoffs as the Sixers have since Dr. J retired. So I think, I think that sentiment and that feeling gives me more comfort than maybe the Hornets, who I've talked about being kind of having that, just that vibe this season and playing well. So I'm excited to see what goes on Sunday. I think this is going to be a great series for us.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see just how these matchups happen, who blinks first, as we spoke about a couple of times this week. And as you said, there's going to be way tougher tests down the line. This isn't assuming the Celtics get through it, which, as far as I'm concerned, they should. There's going to be some tougher tests waiting. And whether that be New York, whether it be Detroit, whether Charlotte go on a run, however it ends up playing out, it's going to be a difficult kind of stretch going deeper into the postseason. For today, the X factors, the type of X factors I want to have in mind is basically there are no rules. Right. So you can go coaching, you can go schematics, you can go players, you can go tendencies, but I want to try and get 5 of them. I want to get 5 X factors, and it doesn't all need to be Celtics focused. We can bounce between both teams. That's exactly what I'm doing on my newsletter right now. And we can just I want to start with Hugo Gonzalez, and this will be the only one that has crossover to my newsletter.
Okay.
So, well, unless you bring one up that's got crossover and you don't know what I'm writing. So that's not my fault if you bring some up. Hey,
Webstradamus is in the house. You never know what
I'm not sitting here with my crystal ball, you know what I'm saying? So the reason I bring up Hugo as a potential X factor is because he, in my opinion, is going to be one of the better suited guys defensively to have guarding either Quentin Grimes, either Tyrese Maxey, or VJ Edgecombe. Now, when I wrote down my 8-man rotation prediction earlier today, I didn't have Hugo within that 8-man rotation. I've got Hugo as a joint 9th man along with Luka Garza, which means that assuming Joe sticks to an 8-man, Hugo's he's going to be on the outside looking in, which is why I have him as a genuine X factor, somebody that you could insert into the rotation in a pinch when things haven't been going well or your current schemes are getting blown up, and he can stay in front of guys. He could switch on guys. He's great at reading and rotating. He's physical. He's going to be able to match Maxey's power. He's going to be able to match foot speed with Edgecombe, close out with his length. Now, when you think of Hugo, a lot of people are going to be like, well, he's a wing defender. He's a forward. Like, why would he be guarding guards? This isn't going to work. So I went and did the math. So according to Basketball Index, which is, one of the best statistical tracking sites out there is a paywall. It's like $5. But according to Basketball Index, Hugo has spent 49.8% of his defensive minutes guarding guards 1 and 2. Predominantly 2 guards, but like marginally more 2 guards. It's like 22.8% guarding point guards, and then like 24 point something percent, or however it works out, guarding 2 guards. So he's been getting reps guarding the 1 and the 2 all season. In fact, it's almost half of all of his defensive minutes have come guarding those 2 positions. So I've got him as an X factor because of what he can give you defensively and what he gives you against a guy like Tyrese or against a guy like VJ or even against a guy like Grimes. So that's kind of where I'm leaning as like a defensive X factor for the Celtics when it comes to locking down the perimeter.
He's definitely got that no fear factor, right? Definitely somebody who's been asked to cover the best player on the other team right out the rip, right? Like week 1. I would say, obviously, it's an interesting X factor because we have to assume that Joe bucks the trend of what we looked at heading out of the regular season with the rotations. For some reason, and I don't know if it's coincidence and schedule and back-to-back and rest, but Walsh seemed to get a little late season push there. So I think that both of them provide similar possibilities, with Walsh being a little longer and a little more physical. But I do agree that if you looking back at the season, although he did a really good job of guarding Cat and Hugo, I do think his switchability, his speed, his athleticism, his ability to play physical and match what Maxey and Edgecombe and Grimes, he's definitely the old saying of break in case of emergency. He is the definition of that kind of X factor for sure.
He also has one thing that Jordan Walsh doesn't, which is experience in professional tournament basketball.
That can't be discounted.
When you play in Europe, like, I know everyone's like, oh, he played in the Euro League. The Euro League is, for any soccer fans out there, it's basically the Champions League of European basketball. Like, because you have a Spanish league, and that Spanish league is not the Euro League. Real Madrid play in 2 different competitions at the same time, and one of them is essentially tournament basketball. So Hugo will be coming into the playoffs, and while he'll be a rookie and this will be his first experience of playoff basketball, NBA playoff, but he isn't like brand new to the notion of being a professional and playing in a tournament level type game. And I think that when it comes to trying to shut down some of these shifty guards that can turn the jets on after coming off a screen, or that are super good at snaking their dribble or dragging it out before making a read, or whatever they do, I think that Hugo's experience playing in Europe against guards, especially in like EuroLeague basketball, where it's very half-court based, very methodical, you run set after set, the guard handles and creates. If Hugo's got experience there and that can translate a little bit, that to me gives him an edge over Jordan Walsh for some minutes.
Yeah, the moment, I don't anticipate the moment ever being too big for him. It certainly hasn't since he's joined the NBA.
It's like he's just ready. He came in ready, and I think the upside's great for him. Now, granted, I've been lower on Jordan Walsh than most, and I continue to be. I still think he's good. I understand that he's young and he's shown great development defensively and his timing's getting better. But I just think Hugo's more ready now. And when it comes to the playoffs, you want guys that are ready now.
Yeah.
And again, I don't have him in my 8-man rotation. I'm not expecting him to be a staple in what we see from Boston versus Philly. But if you're looking for like an X factor that can give you a spark off the bench and do one thing and one thing specifically, which in this hypothetical instance is shutting down one of these guards on the perimeter, I think Hugo can give you that.
He's definitely earned the trust of the coach too. And I think Garza you alluded to Garza to an extent too. I think Luka definitely is what a hell of a weapon to lean on. If Drummond seems to be a problem, or rebounding suddenly becomes an issue, although Vooch and Kata have certainly done a great job, Luka's like next level. You just unleash Garzilla on the Village, and I think he'll be ready to. But I think Hugo is definitely, I would agree with that sentiment that he's a huge X factor for himself, for sure.
Yeah, defensively specifically, I think that. Perimeter defense, if we're getting even more granular, like that's where I see him being like a value. So that's X Factor 1. We've got 4 more to go. Wherever you want to take it, I gave you when it's your turn.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'd be Captain Obvious, but man, how is it? How can I not say Scheierman's an X factor? Just look at the moment as the season is trended towards finishing up, and every chance he's had, whether it was being in New York and what felt like probably the closest thing to a playoff game this year. That vibe, even though we didn't have JB in that game, that was from watching the games, all 82 of them, not counting the preseason. That was the closest thing it felt like to a playoff game this year. And who stepped up in that game? Who hit the big shots? It just seems like when other players may wilt, it seems like he takes his game up to the next level. And I don't know if that's from being an alpha throughout his life as a high school hooper and a college hooper and having had a chance to be the man and finding a way to acclimate on this roster. But he's an incredible crasher from the corner. He's probably the best of, I call it like the wing factory, Brad Stevens' wing factory, where we just gets these guys, they come out and they all just contribute. It's all of them. Hauser, Scheierman, Hugo, Walshy, Harper Jr. They've all just been amazing this year. But for me, I can't not see, I could see Scheierman winning a game for the Celtics. That's how good he's played for us the last month. So I think for me, that's, I mean, maybe that's obvious. Maybe it's obvious, but for me, I just want to make sure he gets his flowers, because as far as guys that are going to be in the rotation, I think he's going to make a huge impact.
I don't think it's that obvious in terms of like being an X factor. Like, I agree with you wholeheartedly.
Shaq didn't know who the hell he was. Remember the other Shaq?
Yeah, like, who the hell's this?
Flyerman? Yeah. Who's that? Oh, you know. So.
I'll tell you this right now. When he came into the league, I did a massive deep dive on him. I think I wrote like 4,000 word scouting report on him. Again, on the newsletter, go show some love while you're doing that. Hit subscribe and like to the channel. Show some love on both ways. Well, I did a massive deep dive on him, and I was really impressed at the versatility within his skill set, the passing, the rebounding, the being able to hit the floaters, the being able to get to one-footed like push shots, the catch and shoot threat. Everything that he did just seemed to be like all interconnected, and it felt like a very much a guy that if he was younger and had things figured out a few years back would have potentially been a lottery pick. And the reason he fell down was because he was like, what, a 5-year collegiate guy.
Yeah.
And, you know, these guys that come in after so long in the collegiate game and they come into the NBA, they have that lower ceiling, but they also have that higher floor. They're a more complete guy. And look, we saw Baylor go through an acclimation process last season. We saw him struggle in summer league and to start the year, and then he found his footing. And I agree. Baylor is somebody I have in my 8-man rotation to start the season. To start the preseason. I actually have him as like a key part of this rotation at this point. But what you're saying as like an X factor, I agree, because I think there's a game where he'll give you 25 and 7, 25, 7 and 4. Do you know what I mean? We can go down
in the fourth quarter, hit a big shot, and what an advantage. Especially with White shooting having been under the microscope lately, it's definitely been a huge asset, because Hauser and White have been up and down all season. Payton's been super consistent for the most part, especially since he returned to the bench. I think we know what we're going to get at Payton. I think we trust Sam to hit threes. I think obviously Derek White does everything great. That's what makes him Derek White. He's like the mini fundamentals, whatever the opposite of Tim Duncan is. But for me, I just think his shooting and his playmaking and his just it's je ne sais quoi, for lack of a better term. That it is the definition of an X factor, like the ability to just make winning plays. It seems like if there's a loose ball and it's Baylor Scheierman and fill in the blank, it seems like 8 out of 10 times he's getting that loose ball and making that play. So I'm pumped to see what he does with the moment bigger.
I also think, like you alluded to with with Hauser and White shooting, is Scheinman's another option. So when one of these two or both of these two are struggling, you still have another catch and shoot for it that doesn't need to be like, you don't want to put Tatum in that role because Tatum needs the ball. You don't want to put Jaylen Brown in that role too much because you want to get Jaylen Brown going downhill or in the mid-range or in the post. And I think Baylor just gives you another guy that can make decisions with the ball in his hand, but can work as an off-ball threat too. And it just gives the Celtics that little bit extra versatility. So moving back now, another X factor that we're going to bring up is, I think Nick Nurse is going to be a good X factor. I think that Nick Nurse, and Billy brought this up, so shout out to Billy from the last episode. I'm kind of stealing this from you, to be honest. I think that Nick Nurse is, first of all, you won't know this because we haven't podcasted together, but I say this every time I discuss him. Nick Nurse is a Birmingham legend, where I'm from, Birmingham, UK.
I remember you telling me that once, actually.
Coached in my city for a few years, won some championships here, coached in a couple of other parts of the UK, and then made his way over to the G League, which ultimately led him to signing up with Toronto.
Yep.
So legend over here, coached over here. So I'm a fan anyway. But I just think that he's not going to be the sort of coach that comes into this series with a system in mind, with a plan in mind, and sticks to it. I think he's going to come in with a very open-minded approach with, let's see what they do. Let's see what they hit us with. How can we counter what they hit us with? He's going to be creative. I think he's going to be quite aggressive and assertive with the way he kind of plans out his rotations. I think there's always going to be multiple scoring punches on the floor. I don't expect him to be focused too much on trying to shut down what Boston does well. I think he's going to look to counter what they struggle or what they do mediocre. So I think that Nick Nurse could actually be an X factor in this series. And Billy made a point. There's a chance that Nick Nurse is the best coach Missoula comes up against for the entire of the Eastern Conference side of the postseason. Like, is Nick Nurse better than Mike Brown? I'd say so. Would you say he's better than JB Bickerstaff? Then, if that's the case, and that's how the Eastern side of the playoffs go, then Missoula's having his hardest coaching battle now.
Yeah, I mean, look, you know where I live. I mean, this is championship city, man. Nick Nurse deserves all the credibility. He won a championship before Missoula with the team that came out of nowhere. I mean, obviously with Kawhi and stuff in Toronto, but what he accomplished there is not to be sneezed at. He's an incredible coach, and I think a lot of the concerns that I've had about Joe, which he has really addressed this year. I'm sure he was just caring about what Mike Weber thinks, right? But the ability to change the mentality of the team, like I've talked about before, like getting big leads, blowing them, like that was not an issue this year. Not being a great rebounding team, not an issue this year. Always been great at taking care of the ball, but even the perception of Missoula ball and being mathematically driven, that was a really big hot take around here post Knicks series last year was, oh, we shot ourselves out of games. We blew two 20-point leads, first game 1 and 2, right? And the reason why we lost is he was out coached by Tibbs. So I think start at the beginning of the year, if we had this conversation about him and Nick Nurse, I'd be like, yeah, they're like, Nick Nurse is here. Joe is still here as a coach. Joe is certainly in the regular season risen, but I do agree. I don't think Nick Nurse is going to be the kind of guy who's going to be worried about egos and who plays and how this works. I think he realizes that he's playing the underdog role and he has that in his back pocket. He's an incredible coach. I think we're going to see zone defenses. We're going to see guys who maybe have played before. We've talked about, not to slide into another X factor, but some of the rotation players that are deep cuts on that Sixers bench. I don't think he's going to be afraid to play him because he knows he's playing with house money, I think.
I think that's going to be a genuine battle that you need to watch play out, because when you're willing to go deep into the rotation, when you're willing to give guys minutes, and when you're willing to kind of counter everything with the mentality of, I don't care what's normal, I care what works. And what I mean by that is, like, a lot of coaches will be like, well, it's an 8-man rotation, so we're going 8 deep. I might change who's in the end of that rotation, but I might go to 9, right? But then you have other coaches that'll be like, yo, okay, I got 15 players. If I need to run all 15 guys to make this work, I'm going to run all 15 guys to make it work. And to give, shout out to Steve Kerr. He was doing something very similar at the start of the season with the Warriors. So I do agree. I think that, both Missoula has made that jump in his ability to, as you put it, change the mentality of the team. And Nurse is the type of guy that will force you into changing the mentality multiple times, potentially during the same game. So I think it can get quite rough. I'm with you right there. It's your turn.
And I obviously do have nerves about, like, I don't think a lot of us want to say it out loud. It's like, well, don't say the ugly thing out loud. Maybe it'll manifest. But Joe not calling timeouts seems to have been so much better this year. Like, there were times where, yelling at the TV, watching games, like, why isn't he calling a timeout? I just think also, I think part of what Joe did to drive the mentality of the team into changing a lot of their habits was, remember subbing out 4 guys because nobody rebounded on an offensive rebound?
He took so much heat for that.
And I thought it was fantastic. I was like, finally, he gets it, as a coach. We got to send a message. If I wanted to sit Jaylen Brown because he's being lazy on defense or not running our offense correctly, because that happened. He said Jaylen for like an entire second quarter or third quarter at some point this year. Jaylen, kudos to him for being the leader he is, was honorable and was humble about it. I was like, I deserve to sit my ass on the bench. I didn't play well. And I just hope that Joe stays aggressive. I hope he matches Nick Nurse's guile and experience, or at least tries to mix it up, because he's got a team that can do that too.
Yeah, I think that, Missoula's coming in with the better roster. I'd argue that Missoula is on the same level, if not better than what Nick Nurse is. And this isn't me saying Nick Nurse is a better coach than what Joe Missoula is. It's me saying Nick Nurse is a more experienced coach than what Joe. And I think that when you're coming into a series where, yes, guaranteed Boston have the best two players, Jaylen and Jayson, but Philly have 3 and 4, and then Derek White's in there, and then you can put Paul George around the seat or wherever you want to put Paul George and Edgecombe, however you want to work it out, right? There's a few guys. What I'm getting at is there's a big drop. It goes Tatum and Brown at 1 and 2. You can put them either way. I'm not about to get into that debate with anybody. Then there's a drop, and then it's like Tyrese Maxey. You can put Paul George there if you want. You can put Derek White there if you want, however you want to work out. But what I'm saying is there's still enough talent on Philly for Nick Nurse to be creative enough to make this a hard series, to make this a potential 6-7 game series if they muck it up. I've got Boston in 5, but I'm saying that there's a chance, and that's why Nick Nurse to me is a potential X factor for Philly.
I agree.
We're back on you.
All right. So
what you got for me?
I'm gonna go with grit. Good old fashioned grit. I'm gonna call it the Dylan Brooks, Marcus Smart thing. It's a real thing. And as we talked about with Hugo, the moment not being too big and how physical the EuroLeague is and how he walked in not intimidated by anyone, there are guys on that Philly team who are going to bring it. Specifically, Kelly Oubre, right? Kelly Oubre has been a pain in the ass to Boston since he was on the Wizards, okay? Yeah. He's not afraid of the moment. He can get hot offensively, although what happens is when he gets hot offensively, it justifies that presence defensively, which is awesome. He's one of their better defenders, but he's just a pest. Also, they have Jabari Walker, who's also tough as nails, plays physical, right? He's another guy who can guard up or down. He's not definitely a better rebounder and pretty fierce. And they just have and Quentin Grimes has shown he can be pretty fierce too. They've got that guys on the bench. Wofford, who's built like an AEW, WWE wrestler, looks like he could play edge for the Pats in the offseason. He's jacked. Looks like a D lineman. They've got guys, I think, they can muck it up and let the Celtics know, hey, this isn't going to be easy. You're not going to cut through the lane without being... And the whistle is different in the playoffs, bar none. So for me, the grit factor is a huge part of this as far as for me. For me, I could see a situation where the game gets really ugly. Dudes got to keep their cool so we don't get, for example, Jaylen Brown thrown out of a game because of a flagrant foul. He gets destroyed and blown up going to the hoop, which we've seen happen. I think Jaylen knows exactly what he's doing. He doesn't get enough credit for being calculated. For example, when he did get thrown out, was it the Spurs game on national TV or something? And he was so frustrated and then called out the refs afterwards. I don't think he'd get that careless, but you could see a situation where if we get it's a tough whistle and it's a physical game, that benefits Philly. I love our toughness for sure. I'm not discounting that, but I do think there's that factor of probably why I've preferred Philly over Orlando was that grit factor. For me, I think about that piece being a problem for the Celtics. That's a big X factor for me, is rising into that playoff mentality, being prepared to match it blow for blow.
Do you think that this is a good way of being like iron sharpens iron though?
Yes.
Because you're going to need to develop the grit that you develop to get past the Sixers is the grit you're going to need to deal with the Knicks. Do you get what I'm saying? So the grit is that's a really cool choice, because not only is the grit an X factor for this season from both sides, from Philly's side, from Boston's side, from, as you said, from being able to rise to it while still remaining kind of measured in how you respond so that you're not fouling, you're still available, but also hardening that and developing that and honing that. So when you go and face New York, you're kind of ready. And we spoke about this on a previous episode where we were like, when the Celtics come out of the Magic series last year, they were beat up. And I think that physicality and grit are very different. Grit is more of a mindset. It's more of a willingness to push through fatigue, to push through the physicality and everything. Physicality is just, you're going to walk away with some bumps and bruises, right?
It's playoffs, yeah.
I think that I agree with that. I think that could be a really important X factor, not just for the series, but the entire postseason. If the Celtics have to really dig deep in this series, they'll be better mentally prepared going into that New York game.
Every series is going to be a grind.
Yeah.
Period.
The East is better at the moment. I mean, I'm confident the Celtics are coming out of the East, I'll be honest with you, but I also understand if they don't. I came into the season thinking it was a play-in and bust. So, you know, it was house money for me. I'm cool. Yeah, let's go. But I'm with you. I'm with you 100%. What I will say is the Celtics have some good, young, gritty guys. Hugo, Jordan. There's options deeper on the bench that you can bring off to provide that spark. I think that now what we do is we do one more X Factor, right? Then I'm cognizant of the time.
All right.
So, final X Factor. I'm going to give it to you. I'll let you go because I don't want to use the ones I'm writing about.
Okay. No, that's fine. So I think for me, it's offensive flexibility, right? The ability to be prepared for the counterpunch. We know Nurse is going to throw the sink at them. And as you brought up before, that while the Sixers give up, they bait you into taking threes. That's like they want you to take threes. They're also really long and good at contesting threes, right? They want us to rush our offense. And I'm hoping Vooch and Kata and Tatum's ability to, to play with the rim runner, which he's one of the best at, getting guys downhill and stuff through the paint. I'm hoping they don't settle for the easy shots. And my concern is not to get into Missoula math, but I want to see a commitment of playing in the paint. To me, that kind of goes with physicality to an extent, but I want to see Jaylen in the paint. I want to see not floaters. I do want to see those too, but I want to see the Jaylen step back game and the fadeaways and playing off 2 feet. I want to see Kata involved offensively. What I don't want to see is a lot of isolation pick and roll for 15 seconds, settling for a hero shot. I want to see exactly what's been contagious since JT came back. I think the big question was, Tatum is the ultimate X factor. Let's keep it 100, right?
Yeah, I feel we just avoided that out of
I think everybody here knows that Tatum is the very definition of an X factor because he's somebody we didn't anticipate even having as we ascended to the second seed. But to me, it's honoring the integrity of the new Celtics offense as we go into this series and not getting caught up in hero ball. I'm hoping that Tatum and what we've seen him as a next level facilitator, kind of taking that LeBron step into his career, you know what I mean? I'm hoping that he continues to play quarterback on and large oversized point guard on offense and keeping everybody involved. Because to me, like it's so important, it's imperative that Vooch, Brown, Pritchard, who eats in the paint as good as any guard in the league, maybe the best, right? Everybody gets their points in the paint. I think when we look at the series, we want to see points. Embiid's not there. Drummond is a hell of a rebounder. Bona is definitely tough, right? But who are we afraid of? We should be in the paint. To me, it's about making sure that we're not just taking what they give us and we're making sure we get the best shot and our offenses run well. I just want to see that commitment. That's really, for me, the big thing.
I like the idea. See, now when you say playing in the paint, I understand exactly where you're coming from. Pressure the rim, get downhill, create the angles. I also like the idea of leaning into spray offense, just, drive and kick. Get into the paint, create the collapse, draw guys to you, kick it out because of the shooters that are there. Then you can secondary drive, you can just fire it up. There's so many options that are open up to you. I also think as well, once you've attacked the paint a few times and you've got the big really committing in the drop, you can start attacking the mid range more. If they're going to bait the free, attack the mid range because they're going to be pushing up high. If they're sagging off, you shoot the free or you run an action to get downhill. If they're pushing up high, you beat the closeout, you attack in the mid range. But you consistently keep pummeling the paint, whether it be scoring, kicking out to generate your offense. Because this Celtics team is at its best when the ball is moving and players are cutting, and that means feet touching paint. Now, the ball might not need to touch paint, but feet need to touch paint. Cuts, drives, rotations. And I think when that's happening and the ball's pinging around, even if the ball's just on the perimeter, as long as feet touch paint on cuts, this Celtics team is a dangerous, dangerous prospect for anybody.
Yeah. Honorable mention, very quickly. The Philadelphia 76ers medical staff with Joel Embiid.
Oh, man, that's like saying a miracle.
Right. Well, I'm just saying,
honorable mention, hot off the press. A miracle is the new X Factor.
Yeah. Shout out to my daughter Zoe, who had her appendix out, believe it or not, this year. She had it out, and she was back at theater rehearsal within a week. So I don't want to hear any whining from Joel Embiid. Just kidding. But I'm just saying, that'd be the honorable mention thing.
For sure, man.
Back in time to even make a difference. We even see him.
But we've seen him do this before, right? Come back in the middle of a first round or a second round and just not be worthwhile being on the floor because he's dragging. It's like, it's not fair on him. It's not fair on the team.
Yeah.
Kind of, I'm not Philly fans and I don't really care how they feel, but it's not fair on them neither. With that being said, everybody, make sure to go hit that like button, that subscribe button, show some love to the channel, show some love to Mike. Mike, you're off over to Florida for a while, but you're going to be taking your gear with you because you're committed to the bit.
You know it.
Are you excited to go?
Bro, I'm pumped, and I can't wait for the Celtics to start. We got WrestleMania this weekend. This is going to be a great oversized kid weekend. You know what I mean? Bruins too. Bruins starting hockey too, so I'm pumped. But Celtics
My daughter
for sure.
likes hockey. Right then, with that, everybody, I want to say thank you. We love you. Go Celtics. Hit subscribe. Peace.